Dear student, this is Shailesh Devda, German Assistant Professor in Department of Record Computer Application, GS College of Commerce, World. In this session, we discuss the syllabus of our second session, that is BCCA second sem, and our subject is Programming in C++. Before starting our subject syllabus, we should know what type of syllabus we have in this subject. So, according to this RTA menu, we have Programming in C++ and it has 4 units. Each unit divided in sub-chapters. We discuss on that. Just like Unit 1, Introduction to OOPS. Introduction to OOPS. You already know what is programming language because in last semester we learned about the programming in C. The next extension of C language, that is C++. Here plus means some additional features add to the C language, and that additional features are called as OOPS. But when we discuss about OOPS, we should know about the SPP, that is Structured Procedure Programming. Just like C is a procedural language, means each and everything goes to a particular procedure. But we should discuss on the OOPS, that means Object-Oriented Programming Language. So our first chapter is on the introduction of OOPS. In second chapter, we discuss about the data types. Data types. You already know some fundamental data types and some are the user-defined data types. Same data types that you learn in C language are used in a C++, just like integer, float, double, etc. Character. These are the fundamental data types, and that data types also used in a C language also. Some operators, literals, we discuss it on the second chapter. Then input and output string. Input and output string. Just like we use some functions in a programming language, just like in C language we use the printf, scanf, clr, scr, getC, getch. These functions should be used in a C language. Same way, these functions should include by a preprocessor. Okay, that time we should use the stdio.h, that is header file. Same way, in C++ we should use the input and output string. That header file is called as a string. These strings or input-output strings, just like keyboard and screen operations or operating functions, used in a input-output string. Same way, we should, in this unit, we should use the control statement. Control statement, just like if structure, then loops, nested loops, control statements, then switch case. These are the control statements which we discuss in a control statement. So in first unit we should introduce the OOPS, then data types, operators, literals, input and output string, and control statement are included in our first unit. In second unit 2, in unit 2 we should discuss the functions. So functions are the self-contained program or short program by which we can manipulate or which we can convert a long program or a big program into smaller parts, but it should be a self-contained, means from input to output can be defined in a particular functions. So some functions are user-defined and some are the predefined. So what type of user-defined functions and predefined functions can be used in our programming? We discuss in functions. Next one, structure. In second unit, we have second chapter, that is structure. Just like which type of functions we use, where the functions has a different parameters or the paradigm. That paradigm we should discuss in a function and structures. Next one is a array. We already know that a variable can store only a value at a time, but by using the array we can assign a same type of data or same type of value into a variable using their index number, and that bunch of values or that bunch is called as a array. So how we can define an array, how we can control the array using the pointer with the structures, it can be explained in unit second. Next one is a pointer. A pointer is a variable that point to another variable's address. So to pointer to array and array to pointer, this can be explained in a pointer. We know that how we can use a pointer into C language. Just like when we access the another value of a other variable, that time we can use the address of that particular variable, and that address can be pointed by a pointer variable. So in C language we use the pointer in a single way. We in this or in C++ we should use with the pointer with structure, pointer with array, pointer with variable. This simple to higher level can be use of higher level can be discussed in the pointer. Next one, structure and unions. Structure and union. We know that structure or struct, a keyword by which we can create a user-defined data type. As union also create a user-defined data type, because a single variable have some limitations, or data type or integer, float or double has some restrictions, because we cannot store a character into an integer or a double value or float value into an integer or character variable. Some situations arises when we can transfer a multiple type of data into a single variable. That time we create a user-defined data type by using the structure and the union. So how we can use in our programming, we discuss in a structure and union, or struct and union. The third unit in unit 3 discuss about the classes and object. Classes and object. We know that a variable is also an object because it inherits some values from its data type. Just like when we create integer a, means a is a variable of integer. It is also called a is the object of integer. It can fetch all the characteristics of integer into a. That is called a object of a data type. Next, it is a class. Class is same like a structure, but it has some most important features are added to the structure. Structure has a limitation, that is we cannot create a function into a structure. We just declare a variable into a structure, or different type of variables can be contained in a structure body. But to access that values or access that object or variables, we need a function, and that functions can be defined into the classes. Means class is a collection of variables that is called member of a class, and functions that is called function of a class or member function of a class. The class function has capability to access all the member variable or member of a class. Means in class we can declare a variable, also called a member, and function called member function. Member function in a single body of class. Single body of a class. In structure we just declare the variables or member of a structure, but in class we can declare the member as well as member functions. Member functions has the capability to access the member of a class. So by this way we can declare the class, and by using the class, that is also a user defined data type. User defined data type, and that data type can be create an object, and an object used to access the data member and the member functions of a class. So in this chapter we discuss how to create a class, how we can define a member and a member function, and how we can use that member functions to access the member of a class or variable of a class. Next one, second chapter for third unit, that is spatial member function. Spatial member functions. Some functions which are used to access the class as well inside the class as well as outside the class. For that we should use some keyword, and that keyword is called as a spatial member functions. We have different type of spatial member functions like friend function, inline function, constructor, destructor, and so on. So these are some spatial functions or spatial member functions. Why it is called spatial? Because it cannot be declared in a class, but it can be used into a class. So these spatial functions can be used into a classes, just like friend function, inline function, constructor, destructor. We discuss these spatial member function in third unit. Next one, inheritance. Just like when we declare a variable of any data type, it inherits all the characteristics of a data type into a single variable. Just like when we declare integer a, that means the a variable has all the capability or use all the characteristics of integer. That means it can store the value, it can retrieve the value, we can store integer type value only into a variable. Means it inherits all characteristics of the integer. Same way, when we create a inheritance or use inheritance, that time a parent class and a child class would be created. A child class has the capability to access all the members or all the data members as well as member function of a parent class. It means it has the capability to access all things which have into a parent class or derived class. Okay, so inheritance, we have two types of inheritance, that is single inheritance and second one is a multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance. So this can be explained in unit 3, that is class, object, spatial member functions and inheritance are included in the unit 3. Now unit 4. Unit 4. In unit 4, the first chapter is overloading. Overloading. We already know that a same name of a variable cannot be used in a single scope. Means when we declare a program or write a program, it's like a main, and main has a scope. We cannot declare integer a comma a. That means same name variable cannot be declared into a single scope. But sometimes we need to declare a variable into a single scope or a function's name who has the same name. This type of feature is added into OOPS or programming in C++. That means we can use a same name function into a single scope, and that feature is called as a overloading. Okay, so we should discuss the overloading function. Overloading functions. Overloading operator means same thing can be done but with an additional feature is called as a overloading. Just like if we use plus plus, it means it can be increase or increment operator, just like a plus plus or I plus plus. It increases a value into a I. Same thing can be done by this plus plus operator, and additional feature can be added to a plus plus feature, means an increment into a variable, and this can be done by overloading operator, means additional feature can be added to the functions or to the operators. Next one is polymorphism. Polymorphism. Polymorphism, a most important part of object-oriented programming. In this, we can use to hide the data into a member functions or into a variable. So what type of polymorphism we have discussed in a 4th unit. Next one, exception handling. Exception handling. In exception handling, we should divert a flow of a execution of a program from one flow to another one. Means when some errors occurred into the programming, that time we convert that way or flow of a program from one place to another one, and that is called by or executed by the exception handling. Some exceptional value can be attached to our execution. And last one is a data file. Means all the things are stored or with using the programming we can create a file and a storage through which where we can store the data of a file or the programming file. By using the programming we can store the data into file, retrieve the data from the file by character wise or by the file wise. It is called binary file and a random access file. Random access file, and this can be write, read, append, all these things can be done using the binary file and random access file. So in 4th unit we discussed the overloading, function overloading, operator overloading, polymorphism, exceptional handling and data files can be discussed in unit 4. So in this next lecture or session we start our 1st unit, that is introduction to the object oriented programming. Thank you.